Hello to all astrology enthusiasts. In this video, I want to discuss the month of May in the year 2025. What energies await us, what astrological events, and how all of this will manifest in our lives. Overall, May is a relatively less intense month in terms of energies compared to March and April of 2025. Here, things are more calm and measured, yet there are a number of very significant astrological events to pay attention to, as well as some aspects that will manifest this month and have a certain impact on our lives. Nevertheless, let's consider everything in order. First of all, I want to point out that in May 2025, the Aries energies are still working very well and actively for us, because a number of personal planets were in retrograde. And here, the predominance of these energies, we still feel these energies. And we start the month with a stellium in Aries, which consists of the planets Neptune, Venus, and Mercury. And overall, the stellium brings a very bright, inspiring, impulsive wave into our lives, considering that these are Aries energies. And this is a time when we will want to speak more. Frankly, act on the call of the heart and fall in love at first sight. In general, Mercury in Aries provides such directness and speed of thought. Venus brings passion and a desire for response. And the planet Neptune, of course, adds dreaminess, intuition, and a craving for beauty. And all of this together creates a strong desire to express oneself in words, feelings, creativity, actions, and deeds. It's about honesty, it's about inspiration, about emotions, here and now. But it's important to remember that under Neptune's influence, it can be very easy to get confused between what we feel and what we truly want to feel. A luminary like the Sun transits through the zodiac sign of Taurus in May. And here in Taurus, the Sun has been with us since the 19th of April. We discussed this transit in separate videos on the channel, which can be rewatched. Nevertheless, the energies of the Sun in Taurus bring the theme of stability, practicality, and a focus on material and physical values into our lives. And during this time, we feel the urge to slow down and bring order. We want to strengthen what we already have and enjoy the simple pleasures of life. Delicious food, comfort, nature, and touch. Here arises the desire to take care of the body, finances, home, and to invest in something solid and reliable. That is, this is a period when it is important for us not to rush, to do everything with feeling, with sense, with deliberation, and to build a certain stability in our affairs, in our relationships, in ourselves. Here, life itself seems to suggest that what is valuable is not what is fast, but what provides us with support. And from May 20th, the Sun will change its zodiac sign and move into Gemini. The energies will change undoubtedly. And here, energies of liveliness, curiosity, and a multitude of information streams will come into our lives. After all, it's Gemini. During this time, communication, travel, learning, meetings with a large number of people, and exchanging ideas will be greatly activated. There will be a desire to talk more, write, learn, ask questions, share information and thoughts, and try something new. Social activity increases significantly here, with many new acquaintances. Moreover, acquaintances happen easily. There is an increased interest in the people around and in events. This is a period of mental agility, where it is very important for us to be flexible, open, and ready for changes. However, it is also important not to scatter our focus too easily, but rather to try to choose what is truly important to us. Also in May, we can expect interesting transits of Mercury's home, a very fast, very nimble planet. In May, we will have 3 aggressions of Mercury. Firstly, until the 10th of May, Mercury is in Aries and creates situations in life that require us to make quick decisions, boldly express our thoughts, and engage in active communication. A time when our words become very direct, our thoughts very quick and assertive. And we speak, frankly, we act spontaneously, we express our opinions without long deliberation. And here, the desire increases to defend our point of view, to argue, to launch new ideas, initiatives, projects. In general, in business, this can provide a push to launch some ideas, make decisions, as they say, jumping right in. It's important to remember that with all this drive, there might be a lack of patience and attention to detail. Therefore, it's worth being more, mindful in words and promises. And besides that, let me remind you that we discussed Mercury in Aries in additional videos on the channel, which you can rewatch. From May 10th, Mercury will move into the zodiac sign Taurus, and it will transit here until May 26th, bringing energies and situations into our lives where practicality, reliability, and thoughtfulness in words and decisions are important. Thoughts will slow down, but everything will become more stable and solid. That is, there will be a desire not to rush, to carefully consider every step. Communication will become calmer and more deliberate. In general, conversations will focus more on real matters, finances, purchases, issues of stability and comfort. Here, the need for clarity and specificity increases. Here, there will be a desire for less theory and more practice. That is, it's a very good time for planning, conducting negotiations, drafting contracts, and investing in things that will bring long-term benefits. And from May 26th, Mercury will move into Gemini and bring exciting, dynamic moments into our lives, with communication taking center stage. This is a time when we will become more curious and more open to new ideas. We will adapt very quickly to any changes, and there will often be situations related specifically to information flows, new knowledge, negotiations, learning, and travel. That is, there will be many short trips and meetings with friends. There is a lot of communication on social networks. It is important to note that thoughts and decisions during this period change very quickly. Attention shifts very quickly from one thing to another, and it's important to remember the need to focus on important tasks to avoid spreading oneself too thin. And essentially, Mercury will pass through 3 zodiac signs in May, which is actually very fast. The planet Venus in May has already completely moved away from retrograde motion and is fully engaged in transit through the zodiac sign of Aries from April 30th, 2025. And in Aries, it will remain until June 6th, inclusive, bringing a surge of impulsiveness, passion, and a desire for new romantic experiences into our lives. During this time, on this transit, we generally become bolder in expressing our feelings. We fall in love quickly, we act very decisively without looking back. We develop a desire to conquer, to demonstrate our attractiveness, to be the center of attention. And in relationships, our drive for independence, for freedom, is generally intensified. as well as specifically for vivid and exciting experiences. Overall, this transit will encourage us to take risks, to try new approaches in personal life, in personal relationships, in creativity. But here, it's important to be cautious with impulsive decisions so as not to end up in a situation where passion overshadows our reason. And additionally, we will discuss this transit further in other videos on the channel. The planet Mars, the planet of activity and action, remains in the zodiac sign of Leo throughout May, creating situations in our lives filled with energy, bright ambitions, and a drive for self-expression. During this time, we strongly feel the desire to be the center of attention, to promote our ideas, and to demonstrate leadership qualities. And we become more self-confident, more decisive, striving to achieve high goals, especially if they are related to creativity, personal development, or our social status. Here we want to showcase our uniqueness, our individuality, demonstrate our achievements and skills, and receive recognition and praise. But with all the passion of this planet, it is important for us not to overdo it in seeking attention. Otherwise, we might face conflicts and unjustified overconfidence. And now, let's take a look at the significant aspects of May and the main highlights. On May 2nd, we have a very interesting aspect. Venus will be in exact conjunction with Neptune in Aries. This is a very rare and emotionally rich aspect that will create such a strong wave of inspiration, love, desire, beauty, and merging with a dream. The manifestations of this aspect can be both delightful and confusing in both positive and negative ways. On the positive side, firstly, love as inspiration, that is the manifestation of this aspect. Here there can be a sudden bright infatuation, romantic insights, feelings that this is the real thing. Or it could be a creative breakthrough, when we truly feel as if we are connecting to some source of beauty. And it is very suitable for artists, musicians, designers, all those who work with images and form. Moreover, the positive aspect can manifest as the courage to love and dream in general. And considering that this is Aries, it adds boldness to it. Here there is no need to fear feelings of core and actually dive into them headfirst. Follow the call of the heart. Well, and here this aspect can also manifest as a spiritual kind of passion, a striving for the high, the ideal, something very subtle. And here, this aspect might also manifest as a strong inner belief in love, destiny, or in art. Well, on the downside, the aspect can certainly lead to illusions and feelings, can cause impulsive attachment, and can also result in financial recklessness because Venus is also responsible for our money. Additionally, the loss of personal boundaries. That is, this is the moment when it is very difficult for us to understand where I am, where the other person is. Especially, this manifests in new relationships. That is, there is an increased risk of dissolving into the partner, getting lost in dreams, in infatuation. All of this can be caused by the aspect of Venus conjunct Neptune. On May 18th, we have an exact conjunction of the planet Uranus with the Sun in the sign of Taurus. And this conjunction, firstly, will give us a series of events in life, and secondly, it will bring unexpected changes into life that are specifically related to our comfort zone. And this will concern finances, stability, our body, our home, or it will relate to the system of personal values. During this period, under this aspect, plans may change abruptly, sudden insights may come, and a desire for freedom and independence may awaken, especially if we have not expressed our individuality for a long time in order to maintain some stability. And the aspect will just provide sudden solutions. That is, it may involve changing jobs, altering style, breaking off some relationships, some dependency, starting to live in a new way. It can also manifest as a kind of shake-up, that is, in cases where we are clinging too strongly to something old, but with a conscious approach. This aspect is a chance to free yourself from what no longer works and, so to speak, build or create your new free version of yourself. Additionally, on the same day, there is a square between Mercury in Taurus and Mars in Leo. That is, there will be a certain tension or opposition between our thinking and our actions. On May 25th, Mercury is in exact conjunction with Uranus. And here it will create tense situations in our lives which are related to conflicts due to differences in opinions, stubbornness, or the struggle over whose word is final. The aspect will provoke us to make sharp statements, to have outbursts of anger in dialogues, and may activate, so to speak, the desire to defend our opinion at any cost, even if it well destroys a constructive dialogue. Here thoughts become very rigid and speech becomes very categorical, especially on issues that concern personal values, material interests, or the topic of self-respect. Here, the themes of competition, criticism, authority, and the desire to be heard at any cost often arise. At the same time, if this energy is directed consciously, the square can actually help us overcome some internal passivity, defend something important to us, or clearly define our boundaries. Moreover, on the same day, a significant astrological event occurs. The planet Saturn, the planet of karma, our church, our teacher, moves into the zodiac sign Aries and begins its new 3-year cycle, where the main theme will be maturation. Our maturation through personal initiative, through courage, through responsibility for our decisions. In other words, we can expect situations where we will have to clearly realize no one will come and do it for you. It's time to act independently. It's to build your life from scratch, to take on a leadership role. This period will teach us discipline in any of our endeavors, building or creating such an inner core and the ability not to retreat in the face of any difficulties. Success will come to those who are ready, not just to act, but to learn to act strategically, maturely, with an understanding of the consequences. And the energy of this transit may be intense, but it will provide a very powerful growth in the area of self-assertion, personal boundaries, and the construction of one's independent self. Among the classic astronomical events in May, we can expect a full moon in Scorpio on May 12th and a new moon in Gemini on May 27th, 2025. And we will certainly discuss these lunar cycles in separate videos on the channel. Nevertheless, the full moon in Scorpio will bring emotional depth into our lives, sharpen our intuition, and increase the need to free ourselves from what no longer allows us to grow. These could be toxic connections, relationships, certain internal fears, or dependent states. That is a time when our hidden feelings will be exposed, come to the surface, and all that is secret will be revealed. And undoubtedly, this will require a certain honesty with ourselves and with others. There may be an internal tension felt here, and external events will provoke us towards such transformations, towards purification. The full moon in this sign, it does not tolerate superficiality because after all, it's Scorpio. It calls us to a complete reset to a very bold letting go of the past, to internal renewal. And all this is necessary in order to move forward with greater strength and clarity. The new moon in Gemini will open a period of new ideas, communication, learning, and such mental renewal for us. That is, it's an excellent time to launch projects related to information, writing, negotiations, social networks, and travel. In our lives, the themes of contacts, new acquaintances, and expanding our social circle will become more active. Undoubtedly, there is an increased tendency towards multitasking and curiosity here. There will be a desire to exchange opinions and information. The only thing is, it's important not to spread oneself too thin, but to focus on truly significant initiatives, so that the energy of the new moon helps us lay the foundation for intellectual growth, mental flexibility, and new communicative connections. At the end of the month, on May 30th, 2025, we are expecting an exact conjunction of Mercury and the Sun in Gemini. There will be a certain surge of mental activity, clarity of thought, and a need to express oneself specifically through words, ideas, and communication. During this time, under this aspect, there will be an enhancement of intuitive understanding of information in general. Necessary insights will come quickly, and opportunities will open up for successful conversations, signing documents, and solving certain intellectual tasks. We will become more talkative, more quick-witted, agile, but at the same time, we may be prone to nervousness or consuming an excessive flow of information. Nevertheless, this aspect is very well suited for public speaking, for learning, for conducting negotiations, and writing texts. In other words, any activities where the power of words and precision of thought are important. Additionally, Jupiter is present here, so we have a stellium in Gemini, which creates a very strong focus on learning, broadening horizons, active communication, and knowledge exchange. In other words, this is a time when words, gain weight, information gains power, that is, a power capable of changing thinking and opening completely new perspectives in our lives. We become more mobile, open specifically to ideas, new acquaintances, and travel. And here, the themes of teaching, media projects, writing, journalism, launching educational projects, or reaching a new intellectual audience are particularly active in life, especially if you are doing any projects online. Such a stellium always gives us the opportunity to scale our ideas and go beyond conventional thinking, as it helps us integrate into a broader social and educational environment. And I will conclude the review of May 2025 with another significant astrological event, which will begin precisely on the 1st of May. Our beloved Pluto in Aquarius will start its retrograde motion, including stationary periods. This retrograde transit will last until the 17th of October 2025. Pluto will return from the 4th degree to the 1st degree of Aquarius and will refine and complete its tasks in this degree. We will discuss the details of this transit in some separate videos. And I wish you success. Subscribe, like, and share this video. See you. Bye-bye.